Cool. This is obviously being streamed live to our closed Facebook group. So how's it going, guys? If maybe hopping on now to watch, or alternatively watching this at a later stage. Obviously, we all know Chanelle. She's joining us again for another chat. And what we thought might be quite appropriate now during this time is obviously, we've moved on to level 4 now. And that allows us to exercise from 6 a.m. in the morning until 9 a.m. in the form of running. Obviously not in a group, so not at a running club or anything like that, but running on our own or cycling. So what we thought might be appropriate, we joked now and said that, coronavirus is turning us all into runners. We can't always get access to the gym. We can't get access to the gym now at all. But we're not all necessarily runners or want to be runners. But I think the training at home and the Zoom classes that we're doing, it might be nice to change things up a little bit. So even if we before this didn't particularly consider ourselves as runners, this could be a good opportunity for us to start and just get a different aspect. And we all want to get outside. That's the first benefit of it. And then obviously just, gain some benefit of cardio and of actually running. Yeah. So yeah, I've asked Chanelle to just have a chat with us. She's obviously got quite a bit of experience when it comes to running. And so we're gonna keep it short, but what we're gonna do is just discuss sort of, maybe even going into what shoes we need to run if we have running shoes. Obviously, if we're gonna be running a lot, it's probably not a good idea to run in our nanos or our metcons. We can discuss how often we should be running, if we should be running every day. We can also discuss if we or a program to sort of intervals, or how far should we run if we've never run before, and if we run that distance. I think just a general discussion on a couple of things that we can touch on. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, just something that I was thinking of now is like the actual safety of running in this whole pandemic. So I think, like Matthew mentioned a few of those things already, but only in those times, I think we should really try and adhere to the rules that government has set out for us. So only in the allowed times, try and have a mask or a buff or whatever you can run with you, because everyone is now congested in those 3 hours. So there is a lot of runners. I ran this morning. I saw a lot of runners, people walking with dogs. So there is a lot of people. There is a lot of activity. Take your mask. Then also, obviously, if you are going to run a bit further, you are going to need water. So I would suggest to maybe take your own water with and not drinking from a tap, because everyone is drinking from a tap. And then also maybe what I would, a lot of runners, like we know it's not the nicest thing and not the most hygienic thing to say, but don't blow your nose while running, because people do that. And obviously that is a big thing at the moment with the whole pandemic and everything going on. We are not allowed to run in groups. Unfortunately, the government didn't say anything about running two, like for instance, you and a friend or you and a husband. I would say maybe if it's someone that, if I had to say my own interpretation of the rules, if it's someone that you stay with in the same house, it's fine, but also maybe try and run a few meters apart. So that's just the safety aspect of that. Then with regards to how we should be starting and those things, I think it's very important to sort of check where you are. Like, what is your fitness level? What have you been doing? Have you been a runner and now you couldn't run for 35 days? Have you not run in your whole life? Have you been a CrossFitter? All those things. So I think it's very important to listen to your body, which sounds a lot easier than it actually is. Okay, so yeah, I'd say go out, start. A very nice way of doing that is to try and do a half an hour session. I mean, that is doable for everyone, regardless of your fitness level. If you run for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and you feel that you're very tired, then walk a few lampposts. That's like what we say for all runners, everyone trying to get to the running. Walk 3 lampposts, run 2, 3, 2, like that. And then you do that for a few days. Then you increase your running, decrease your walking. That is like the golden rule for anyone that's starting out with the running. Because obviously a lot of us, we do have all the fancy GPS watches and those things, but a lot of people don't, because it's not their primary sport. So going and saying, okay, go and run 3Ks at 6.5 minutes a K, for a lot of people, it doesn't mean anything.
It's difficult, yeah.
So that's the basics, what I would say. Yeah.
Let's okay, so let's say obviously I don't have a lot of experience running, so I'm gonna pick off a few questions that I will throw at you and see. Okay, so I myself, I do have a pair of running shoes. I went and I got some advice. I think I actually got advice from you. It was a while ago though.
So too.
Yeah, to go back or to go to a running shop, or are running shops open? I know we can buy clothes now, but I don't know if
I actually don't know. I had 2 people asking me that today, and I'm not sure, because obviously today was a public holiday as well.
yes.
So a lot of people, we're not sure if they were closed because they are officially closed or because of its public holiday. So that is actually something that we are not sure at the moment.
Okay, and obviously, I mean, it might not seem like too much of an important point because you can still run without proper running shoes. But at the same time, if we're going to be on lockdown for a while and we decide we want to run 3 or 4 times a week, it could potentially have a negative impact on our knees. So yeah, that's exactly what I did. I went to a running shop in Boksburg, and I asked them, not the shoes on the shelf. I said to them, listen, don't you have older stock or older pair of shoes that they don't really have on display? And I think I picked it up for 600 Rand or something, or even less than that. And it's done me quite well.
So obviously, if you're a comrades runner or a marathon runner, then I want to say it's more important because you're going to do more kilometers. But and also it depends on your body weight.
Sure.
A lot of times, if you are heavier, you would get injuries quicker, especially if your shoes are not legit. So the first place where you would normally feel if your shoes are not so lekker is just underneath your knee. So just beneath, underneath your kneecap basically. So that's where you would feel it, or on the side of your knee. We call it ITB. That is like the number 1 injury new runners get. Usually if you have stairs and you go up the stairs, you're fine. If you go down, it's sore. That is also sometimes an indication. So yeah, I would say definitely to invest in some nice running shoes if you know that you are gonna maybe do this in this lockdown time. And I mean, it is, if you get legit shoes, it's something that you can always do a park run in, or you can do whatever, not necessarily CrossFit, but whatever in it. So there is other alternatives. It doesn't have to be the top of the range, most expensive options. And also more expensive shoes doesn't necessarily mean that they are better. I myself tried the maxed Mr. Price shoes. I ran 400 Ks in them, and they were fine. I think that I won't suggest them to everyone because I'm small. Yeah, so like a heavier person, I think they might not be as efficient. But I mean, there's comrades runners winning comrades in those shoes. Okay. So I think if we're gonna run half an hour, it's doable, and they're like 300 Rand.
Okay. Well, that's great. Yeah, that's valuable because obviously if you can't get to a running shop or a shoe shop specifically.
And also, I don't think it's necessary to go like all out and fancy and buy the pronation shoes, because we can only run in a 5 kilometer radius and we can only run for 3 hours. So I won't be able to run more than 30 Ks in that time. Okay. So like, so you're going to be fine with your shoes.
Would you even say that, for a guy that wanted to run 3 or 4 times a week, maybe running a 5K, probably running your nanos, or would you still recommend maybe getting shoes?
I don't think that is ideal.
Not ideal.
Yeah. No, because I did, I obviously have no personal experience with that because I don't have nanos. But I did hear that a lot of my friends, CrossFit people that did run in them, they do have some Achilles problems with it because I think it's maybe a bit hard. And also after lockdown, we don't want to injure ourselves now so that we can't go back to our usual training.
Yeah. And I think well, I mean, a lot of the time we associate, repetitive stress injury, like if your knees are getting sore, we don't really associate that with the type of shoe we're wearing. We're just like, oh, well, I'm running too much or I'm too heavy. Meanwhile, a change of shoes could solve that, and it could be there.
No, definitely. I mean, I ran 3 comrades marathons in Asics, and then I decided, okay, let me try Nike because it's a nice shoe. I like the look of it. I ran 200 Ks in those shoes. I had a calf injury. I had ITB. Everything was wrong with me, and it's just because I changed my shoes. Okay. So yeah, I'm not saying that Nimbus and whatever is the best shoe. Obviously, that was high mileage, but it does play a big role, unfortunately.
Okay, cool. All right, that's awesome. That's good info there. So let's say moving on from shoes, we obviously predominantly talking to guys who don't run. The guys who do run. Like you said, it's not like we're going to be running for 6 hours, or we're not training for comrades. We're just running to just keep fit and healthy. So we're kind of talking to the guys here that don't generally run. They maybe run in a CrossFit workout and they roll their eyes when they see it. But yeah, so what would you recommend starting with? Like if that's me and I walk outside my first day, I want to start running. And I know you said earlier that maybe a 30-minute session. Obviously we know that running's quite different to, a multiple movement CrossFit workout where we can kind of keep moving because the movements are changing. We're changing body groups. And what would you recommend? How far should I aim to run? Or if I don't have a Garmin to check how far, but I maybe just got a stopwatch, what would you say, like, specifically I should focus on doing?
So like when you asked me to do this talk, I was like very excited because it's not nutrition for a change. So, and it's something like really like I'm very passionate about. So that's very cool. I definitely like, that's why there's a lot of coaches, and like I was actually just speaking to my coach now before we logged onto this meeting. So my coach works in kilometers because I obviously have a Garmin, but like we said, not everyone's got that. So that's why I said half an hour, and that because you can tweak that according to your fitness. So if you're really fit, you can do 6 or 7 Ks in that half an hour. If you're not, you can walk 3 Ks. So, but a half an hour is a good gauge. And then you can maybe, if you're walking a lot in the beginning, you can try and run more, walk less, but stick to the same time. And then one day in a week, maybe you can aim for 45 minutes, but then you walk a little bit more again. So you can try and make it interesting for yourself, but not like overdoing it. And then I think, like we said, just to start out, a lot of people think if you run, that's the only thing you do. So like, let me tell you, I've done 5 comrades. This morning on my 10K, I walked 4 times. So there's no shame in walking. A lot of times people ask me, so like on a marathon, when do you walk, or you're running, so you're not allowed to walk? I'm like, no, you are allowed to walk. So even now, like, don't feel like, oh, the cars are going to drive past me and they're going to see I'm walking and they're going to laugh at me. They're not. At least you're training, you're being fit. So I don't think that people must be like, oh, I can only run for 5 minutes, so I'm going to run 5 minutes and go home. Run 5 minutes, walk 3 lampposts, and run another 5 minutes. I think that's a mindset, because like you say, at CrossFit, we move from the one thing to the other thing to the other thing. So it's not that repetition, but break it up with walks in between.
Okay. And so, I mean, I find personally as well, I don't know, you might not like me for saying this, but obviously just because I'm not used to it, but I can find that running can get quite monotonous as well. But like you said, now you can run and walk, and with regards to your sessions as well, to just spice them up a little bit, we could potentially do like maybe one day 30 minutes at a steady pace where you're doing some walking in between, and then the next day you do like 15 or 20 minutes, but you try and run a little bit faster. What could you shed some light on sort of how we could structure those days? We obviously don't want to be running balls to the wall every single day. I suppose it's good to...
No, definitely. And I think that's also maybe like when you said now at the CrossFit, people usually don't like running. Like when I started CrossFit, when I saw run on the board, I was like, yeah, something I can do. And something I know what that move is. So that's why that was funny. But anyway, so I think just to sort of not think of run as a boring thing, like, and also the other day I saw a meme that said, my sport is your sport's warm up. And that's like, it's very true. So don't think of running like that. Think of it as a whole session and different things that you can do. So if I just think of, let's say, a normal comrades program, like different stuff that we can do is hill repeats, we can do fartleks, we can do rolling hills, we can do tempo runs, we can do long runs, we can do LSD runs. So all of that would mean, so hill repeats is like you do like a quick warm-up. So let's say a 5 to 10 minute warm-up. And then you find a hill. It doesn't have to be a steep hill, just like a slight incline. And then you sort of make a beacon for yourself. And you say, I'm going to run from here until that stop street. And then you run that part a little bit faster, okay, not sprinting, just faster. And then when you get to the stop street, you take a breather, you jog back, you do it again. So a few times, and then you do a cool down again. So obviously, I think a lot of people are listening to this now and thinking, but I'm not a comrades runner. Why do I need to do this? But you need to do this to keep yourself sane. Okay, because like you're saying, running is the same thing over and over. And unfortunately, now we can't run in groups. And that is, for me, what I'm going to miss the most, because that is what's keeping running interesting. So, that's the Yeah, so that will be the heel repeats. Then rolling heels, I think at the moment is going to be difficult because we can't run far from our house. So I won't suggest that. But if there is like maybe 2 or 3 streets close to your house with heels, run them slow, but like on repeat. Okay, so that's something different you can do. Then we can do tempo runs. So that is like you say now, like you're going to go, you say, I'm only going to run 15 minutes fast. So I'll have like a 5K slow jog, warm up, or run 15 minutes as fast as I can, slow down, have a cool down, and you go home. So that's a tempo. Then also the fartleks, that's my favorite because it's like very democor. So you can decide, okay, now I'm going to run. Now you spot a stop street. I'm going to run fast until I get to that stop street. I'm going to slow down a little bit. Then I'm going to just recover. Then I see, okay, there is a red car. I'm going to run until I get to the red car fast. So that's like just getting your heart rate up, getting it down. Then we get our long runs, which is like if you normally run a 30-minute session, you can maybe aim for a 45 or even a 60 minutes. And then the LSD is a lot like the long run. It stands for long, slow distance. So like a long 60-minute run, very slow. So like you must be able to have a conversation like I'm chatting to you now, because that burns a lot of fat. And obviously the different workouts work different muscle groups, your calves, your quads, your whatever. And also it keeps you sane.
Yeah. I like that. I really like that because generally when I used to run, it was like, if I've got a 5K, I start at a pace and I try and hold the pace. And, you know, I don't run very often. So I think changing it up like that would be quite nice too. And I'm competitive as well. You know, speaking to a lot of people out there as well, you guys, I'm sure are also. So it's like, it's quite cool to say that, you know, like, can I run to that stop street nice and fast and then, you know, do that 10 times or something like that. It just changes things
and
up.
it keeps your mind busy.
Yeah.
And also like you're saying now, you're competitive. I'm like that as well, and not with only with other people but with yourself. So I would say maybe tomorrow, if it's your first run ever, go and do like a measure with your car, or if you have a Garmin or whatever, measure a 3K or a 2K, or so that you know the route. You run that and you take your time, and then once a week you do exactly that same route, same parameters, same whatever, and you take your time to sort of see your improvement.
Okay.
Because that will also keep you motivated, because we have to do that at the moment.
Yeah, we have to.
There's no races, there's no nothing.
Yeah. And okay, so this is obviously from my side as well, just from a sort of CrossFit training perspective. There's also nothing wrong with changing out of 1 or 2 days in the run. You run, and at every lamppost you do 5 squats, or every 10 minutes you do 50 squats or something. You know, also just to keep things exciting and sort of keep you sane as it is, and change.
Definitely, like just before lockdown, when I started like in Feb with CrossFit, I actually said to my running group, we're going to have to do this. I want us to do the lamppost, and then we do squats and whatever, and they laughed at me. So after this, everyone was squatting at whatever in their houses for 35 days. So I told them that once we can get in a group again, we're going to do that. Okay. So we're going to have to combine the two sports.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Is there anything else that you feel that's sort of on the tip of your tongue that you'd like to add there? I feel like well, hopefully we've given some info, just some basic stuff for the guys that aren't really prepared, you know, and they want to start running now, because that's what we can do.
So just something that I'm thinking of is maybe just to tell people that it doesn't have to be either or. Like we can still do CrossFit, we can still do the virtual classes, we can still squat at home. But I do think that because a lot of us, we were saying a lot that we were sitting and not working and all those things, and a lot of us did gain weight. Unfortunately, doesn't matter what we're trying to do, we did gain weight. And running, obviously I'm a runner, so I'm going to say that is one of the best ways to burn fat and to lose fat. So obviously the CrossFit is very good for building muscle. There is a component of cardio in there, but for sort of damage control, I think the running is definitely good. And like you said, now to go outside, get some nice vitamin D, whatever, that's a good plan. Yeah, but don't forget about the other stuff. Like maybe still squat and do box jumps on your coffee table like I used to do. Do those things because it's good for you.
And it's funny you say that as well, because this morning we had our quietest class. We had about, I think, 3 people. Normally there's about 8 to 12. And I mean, obviously it's a public holiday as well, so maybe guys wanted to sleep in. But I also thought it's the first day where we're allowed out to run. So I think a lot of guys were doing that. But yeah, just like Chanelle said, let's CrossFit is constantly varied. So, you know, train 3 sessions, 3 virtual classes a week, 2 runs a week and you've done five sessions, if you've got more time, try and do more. But yeah, I think that's a really good place to be at if you are managing to maintain that.
And then hopefully after this pandemic, when you put run on the board, people won't roll their eyes anymore.
Yes, yeah, let's hope. That might be one of the things to actually enjoy to see. Yeah. But awesome, thanks very much. Just okay, so one last time, just for a beginner runner, a frequency of training. I mean, a run every day. If they're changing it up like we spoke about, that's fine, eh?
Definitely. Okay. Even if they want to run one day, skip one day, run one day for the first week or 2 weeks, that's also fine. And remember the lamppost. Lamppost is your friend. We always joke on comrades when like lampposts, they'd be a little bit too far. So then we start counting the stripes on the road. And we run, walk one, run one, walk one. So that's an option as well. Count whatever. Count trees, count whatever you can. And there's no shame in walking. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time, Chanelle. Yeah, hope that you guys learned something. And yeah, we're obviously allowed to run now, so let's change our training up. And just, I think the most important thing is, as long as we're enjoying what we do and we're staying active, that's all we want for you guys. Cool.
Definitely.
Thanks, Chanelle.
Thanks you.
Cheers, guys. Have a good evening. Cheers.